Guys, I'll say thank you again for coming. You guys that brought dishes, thank you a lot. What I tasted was really good. On the back table there's some of these ugly cards, but more importantly, the dates for next year are on the back. Take one, take a couple with you if you've got men that you'll invite. That's our goal, build this thing up with more people, but every date for next year, right on through January, is on the card. So pick one up, or two or three if you want to when you leave. The next dinner will be February 24th. It's the last Monday of February. We plan to have legendary chili made by the legend himself and seafood chowder. If you were here last year, you know the seafood chowder will make you take back stuff you ain't even stole. It's good. I want to talk tonight about the New Year's, January. We're going to start up a new year. Happens every year about this time. But I don't know if anybody believes in New Year's resolutions. You know, I'm not a big New Year resolution fan. The facts are they last, about 10% of them last till the end of January. And the other 10% won't last through February. So I think it's just generally a waste of some good thoughts. But my New Year resolution this year was not to talk too long at the men's life group dinner. So I'm probably going to be in that 10%. Probably won't last to the end of the month. So we'll try to do better. I know some of them last year were a little longer than I thought they were, but we'll try not to hold you much past 10:30, 11 o'clock. But to have a happy New Year, you know, we say that all the time around Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's just verbiage, just no meaning, I think. But I think we really need to strive to have a happy New Year. I'd ask you tonight, do you want to have a happy New Year? If you were here last year, one of the devotions we had was about the man by the well at Bethesda, the pool of Bethesda. Jesus asked him, did he want to be made well? You know, he had an infirmity for 38 years. He laid by that pool for 38 years. And Jesus asked him, did he want to be made well? And he never really answered him. He just had excuses of why he couldn't get in the pool. He never said, well, yes, I want to be made well. So if I ask you tonight, do you want to have a happy New Year? I'd ask you, do you want to have a happy New Year? Do you really have desires to have a happy New Year? Happiness is something that we should all be happy. I mean, we're all here tonight, healthy, blessed by God. God's blessings are prominent through the community, through our church. We got another building the size of this one over here we got to fill up with people. God's blessed us all. We should be very happy through those blessings. If we're aware of God's blessings, I think we should be happy. I'm going to give you 3 key points tonight about how to be happy. First point I would start with is choose who you will serve. We're all going to serve somebody. We're going to put somebody first, no matter. You know, the Bible says you can't serve God and mammon, and that's referred to as money, where it's translated. And I know money's a big deal, and we got to have money, basically, to live. But money runs out. You know, God don't run out. God said his name is I am. No matter where, when, past tense, present tense, future, I am is I am. Doesn't change. He don't diminish. He don't run out. There's no shelf life. There's no expiration date. So if you choose who you serve, choose something that's not going to extinguish itself or run out. Some people are really anxious. They worry a lot. You can't be happy if you're worried. If you worry about money, you're not going to be happy. If you worry about success, you're not going to be happy. It will affect the way you can live and work if you're not happy. It makes a difference. Never heard anybody really say, I sure am worried about last week. You think about that. I'm worried about yesterday. It's always, I'm worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. It's unseen. There is nothing to worry about tomorrow till it gets here. And I think it was Corrie ten Boom said, why let the worries of tomorrow ruin the happiness of today? You mess your mind up by worrying about stuff. But the stuff that's short-lived, we just don't, we need to choose something that's more solid. There's some people would kind of serve pleasure. It's different now than it was when I was a kid. Pleasure is I don't know, I don't really know how to describe it, but there's just no basis to it, no merit to it. It's young people especially are looking for a quick hit, quick high, quick pleasure, and they never get there. The suicide rate has increased in teenagers dramatically. And they had a few that they kind of interviewed, surveyed, psychiatrists, whatever, that weren't successful. They tried, but they weren't successful. And when they talked to them, it wasn't the pain in their life that caused them to commit suicide or to attempt to commit suicide. It was the lack of pleasure. They would, they just couldn't get as much pleasure as they thought they needed. It's kind of like there was a drug in the 90s called angel dust. I think it was PCP or something. I had some friends got involved with that stuff, and I never could understand it. Why? I mean, why don't you quit? Why? I don't understand why they just can't quit. A DEA agent that was a friend of mine that I fished with sat down and told me one time, he said, your brain's got different segments in it that does different commands. And he said, that angel dust opens a window in your brain that's just the most pleasurable, greatest feeling ever. And your body wants to go back there again, but once it's opened one time, it can never go back. You'll never feel it again, but your mind says, I gotta try. And you can never quit. And it's just that pleasure I'm talking about. That's what I mean. You cannot live and serve pleasure because it will let you down. There is it's going to expire. It's not like serving God. If we turn in the Bible, we listen to Joshua said, if it is disagreeable in your sight to serve God, choose for yourself who you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua made a decision. Guys, we're the head of our household. We should make that decision for our families. Joshua was not anxious. He was not worried. He served God. God was eternal. Worry didn't cross his mind. When I say worry didn't cross his mind, in my studying here, I found kind of a definition of worry. It said, worry is a thin stream of fear that courses through your mind. Now, I agree with that. It's in your mind. And I don't worry. My wife tells me I've got a gift from God and don't worry, and she don't know why I don't worry, and she don't understand why you don't worry. It makes her mad sometimes, because she worries about stuff. I got some friends who wake up in the morning and say, well, I wonder what I can worry about today. But I'm telling you, there's no future in worry. That will not help you to have a happy new year. I can tell you years ago what came to my mind, and I don't know, there's nothing what I would consider myself to be a philosopher or smart, but this is a pretty good line for an old redneck to come up with. But it came to me some years ago that if I can't affect it, and if I can't change it, I'm not going to worry about it. Give that a minute to sink in a little bit. If I can't affect it and I can't change it, if I can't fix it, why would I worry about it? I'm going to look at stuff that I can change, stuff that I can affect, and I'm not going to worry about that, but I'm going to work at fixing it if it's wrong. So, first step to have a happy new year is choose who you will serve. Serve something eternal, not something that's going to diminish or fade away. Second step is seek the right master. Once you pick who you're going to serve, seek him. Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." If I read that right, it said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all this other stuff will be added." The money, the success, the pleasure. If you seek God first, all these things will be added to you. I've read that verse, no telling how many times, just this week working on this message. That came to me first. Seek God first. The other stuff will come. You got to seek God first. If you're worried about money, seek God first. The money will come. I was reading something. A guy was talking about the same thing. He said most people are wrapped up in their self. It's all about me. It's all about me. This pastor was sharing something about that. He said a man wrapped up in himself will always come in a small package. That's pretty good. It's a great privilege to seek God. King Asa was told, if you seek him, you will find him. If you forsake him, he will forsake you. I think that's good advice. Seek God, not forsake. I figured there was 168 hours in a week. For a long part of my life, I would seek God for an hour and a half on Sunday morning. 168 hours. If you seek God first, take him with you when you leave church Sunday morning, all these other things will be added unto you. Seek God first, not just that hour and a half at church on Sunday. There was a minister that I was reading here. There was a story. His name was Adrian Rogers, passed away years ago. He told a story about he had an opportunity to visit George H.W. Bush, the first George Bush in the White House, to go in and pray like Billy Graham would go and pray. He had an invitation to go in and pray with George Bush. While he was there, George Bush found out he was from Memphis, and he told him, he said, you know what, I'm flying to Memphis tomorrow on Air Force One. Why don't you stay over and fly with me? Well, he got excited. I mean, the chance to fly on Air Force One with the president, he hadn't planned on staying the night. He didn't even bring an overnight bag. But he said, man, if I could do that, I'm going to run town and get toothbrush, what I need for an overnight stay, and get me a motel room and fly to Memphis. I'll just cancel my plane ticket. And he said, while he was purchasing the stuff, it come to him. He said, if I've got this excited about flying with the president on Air Force One, what if I got half this excited about seeking God? That's a pretty good thought. So he said the greatest experience in his life turned out to be the greatest lesson in his life. It's just a fact that we're all human, but we need to seek God first. So the second point tonight, to have a happy new year, is seek God first. Third point, and final point, is to enjoy life. Make yourself happy. It's not hard to do. Set goals that are obtainable. I don't know how I've done it, but between Thanksgiving and Christmas and Mom's funeral, and if y'all been to a funeral at a church, you know there's more food than you can eat. And to make my mama happy, she said, don't throw nothing away, you save it and you eat it. So we have eaten food. I've picked up 20 or 25 pounds since November, and it kind of snuck up on me. So to set a goal to lose 25 pounds before the end of January, which is Friday, I think, I would fail. When you set your goal, set it where they're obtainable, and also celebrate along the way. Don't wait till you lose all 20 pounds to celebrate. When you lose 5 pounds, have your bowl of ice cream. That's what I do. That's why I hadn't lost that 20 pounds. So celebrate as you go. And just to tell you how the Lord works, Clay's got a really good discussion class on Wednesday night. If you don't come, you should try to stop in. It's about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and he picks topics and we talk. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about joy. And I think it kind of fits in with what I'm telling you about being happy, to have a happy new year. And I was talking about Jesus was going to the cross. And there's no way in any of us' mind that we could understand how graphic and gross and grotesque that death was. First, he was hung up for everybody to see and to jeer at and mock. It's an embarrassing thing, but it's a very slow and painful death. Being scarred with the whips and, to the point you bleed out where you can hardly have enough strength to walk, let alone carry a cross. But the Bible tells us, and I think it's in Hebrews 12:3, that his joy lay before him. How he had the strength to go to that cross. He knew well before then that that was his goal. He went to the garden to pray the night before. God, let this cup pass from me, but your will, not mine, your will be done. And the reason he could do that was because his joy lay before him. We are his joy. He likes to see the people here to worship. And we are the joy that lay before him. We are why he took the cross. He made that decision. So, third point to have a happy new year is be happy. Let your joy go before you. You'll get through your hard spots. We all have hard spots. But look past the hard spots for the joy. So to recap tonight, first point, choose whom you will serve, but choose wisely. Second point, seek whom you will serve, but seek constantly. Third point, enjoy life blessed by God by setting obtainable goals, and you will have a happy new year. I got one quick story and we're going to close. There was a small village in a country, and there was a very, very wise man that lived there. People would travel from all over everywhere to come and seek his advice, seek guidance. The man was very wise. There was a young boy there that didn't like the old man. He wanted to play a trick on him, so he caught a bird. He held the bird behind his back in his hands. His plan was to approach the man in a group of people so that everybody could see and ask him, he was going to tell him, I've got a bird behind my back, and if you're so wise, tell me, is the bird dead or is the bird alive? His plan was, if the man said the bird's alive, he was going to crush it. If he just said the bird was dead, he was going to bring it out and release it and let it fly away just to prove the man was wrong. The wise old man thought through it just a second, and he said, tell me, is the bird behind my back alive or is he dead? He said, the bird in your hand is in your hand. His life is as you would have it be. Whether or not you want to have a happy new year this year is in your hand. It is as you would have it be. Happy New Year. So, as I started tonight, and I ask you, do you want to have a happy new year? Hope so. Thank you guys for coming. Remember to get your card, February 24th. If you've never had Paraguay's legendary chili, I'm telling you, it's legendary. Anybody like to add anything? We got a lot of new people, and thank you guys for coming. But just so you know, we do this the last Monday of every month, and you're invited. We have church here starting at 9:15, and you're invited. Over there at 10:30, I think, 2 services. If you missed the first one, catch you on the second one. Would like to see you.
You spoke of the Bushes a while ago. You know why the Israelis never spoke to the president, either one of the presidents? The last time they spoke to a Bush, they spent 20 years in the desert.
Sounds